Hey guys, welcome back to Fat Cat Maths. Today we're going to be looking at grouped data. When we first learn how to calculate the mean, the mode and the median, we're often given a string of numbers like the ones here. But what if you were given a grouped table of data with frequencies instead of the actual data itself? Normally, to calculate the median, we would line all of our numbers up in order and then find the middle. We can't do that in this case because the numbers on the right-hand side are a reflection of the number of goals. They aren't the actual numbers in our data set. What this table is really showing is that in our data we have 7 zeros, 3 ones, a 2, a 3 and no 4s. If we write all of our data out, then yes, we can use the classic way of calculating mode, median and mean. But there's actually a way of using the frequency table itself and doing it a lot faster. In this case, we have a frequency table for absences recorded for 30 students over the past half term. Technically, we have 4 zeros, 15 ones, 4 twos, 1 3, 5 fours and 1 5. That's quite a lot of data and would take quite a while to write these out. It would be even worse if we had a larger data set. So let's look at how we can calculate these three things using the table itself. Let's start with the mode. To calculate the mode using a frequency table is fairly simple. We look down the frequency column and find the largest number, and then we look at what that number is corresponding to. So 15 would not be the mode, but it's corresponding to one number of absences, so that would be the mode. For the median, there is actually an equation we need to learn. In order to calculate the median using a frequency table, we have to do the total frequency, add 1, and then divide it by 2. The total number of students we have, or the total frequency that we have, is 30. So if we add 1 to that and divide it by 2, we get 15.5. This again is not the median. We have to find where that 15.5th piece of data is in our table. Right at the top we've got our first piece of data and right at the bottom we have our last. By doing a quick cumulative frequency calculation, we can see that the 15.5th piece of data would be snuggled in the second row there. That second row corresponds to one number of absences, and again that would be our median, not 15.5. Calculating the mean is a bit trickier, but that's the same for when you're calculating the mean of a set of normal data. What we have to do is create a new column. We're going to call that fx. Fx means that you're going to times the frequency by the number of absences, or by x, so whichever number of things that you would be calculating in your question. So 0 times 4 is 0, 1 times 15 is 15, 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 1 is 3, 4 times 5 is 20, and 5 times 1 is 5. Next you want to find out the total of your fx column, so in this case it is 51. Then look at what your frequency total is. To find the mean, you divide your fx total by your frequency total. So here we would do 51 divided by 30. This gives us 1.7. So the mean would be 1.7. So let's just go over a quick recap of how you work out the mode, median and mean in grouped data. For the mode, you find the highest frequency and look at what piece of data corresponds to that. With the median, you add all the frequencies together and add 1, and then you divide that number by 2. You then find where that piece of data is in your frequency table. In order to calculate the mean, you make a new column by multiplying the number with the frequency, which would make an fx column. Once you've calculated these, you calculate the total and divide it by the total frequency. In this case, 8 divided by 12 would be 0.67, and that would be our mean. Let's try a few exam questions just to put this into practice. Here's a past paper from 2013, so it would be really good to pause the video here and see if you can have a go at the question. What we would want to do is start a new column called fx, in which we times the mark by the number of students. So 0 times 13 would be 0, 1 times 2 would be 2, 2 times 3 would be 6, 3 times 8 would be 24, and 4 times 14 would be 56. Then if we calculate our total for that column, which is 88, and then divide it by the total number of students, which is 40. So 88 divided by 40 will give us our mean. Here's a question from the foundation paper. Again, pause the video here and see if you can answer the questions. For the median, we would do the frequency total, add 1, and then divide that by 2. So the frequency total is 25, add 1 to make it 26. Divide that by 2 and you get 13. We then have to find the 13th piece of data in that frequency table. So the top row of our frequency table will have up to the first 9 pieces of data, and the second row will have the 10th to the 15th piece of data. That means that the 13th piece of data will be in that second row, and that corresponds to a score of 2. In order to work out the mean, we would start a new column called fx and calculate each of those numbers by timesing the score by the frequency. Once we've got that, we would calculate the total of that column, which is 67, and divide it by the total in the frequency column, which is 25. Therefore, our mean will be 2.68. So that is the end of the video on group data. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and I really hope it helped. It would really mean a lot to me that you subscribe, because it'll let me know that these videos are helpful, and it'll mean that I can continue to make new content every single week. I'm going to be covering all of the topics from all of the different UK exam boards, so this channel will serve as a great addition or even an alternative to revision guides. Good luck with the rest of your revision, and I will see you next week.